Welcome to Inspired Learning, the PoE podcast with Badger and Yoji. My name is Badger.
I'm Yoji.
Yes, that is Yoji over there. And welcome everyone to the debut episode. This is really, really exciting for us. How are you feeling, Yoji, right now?
I'm super excited for the podcast, but also I'm like extremely hyped for the league and the whole announcement and everything happening at the same day. It's kind of like a bit of a nerve-wracking, but also a crazy fun day. How about you?
It's been like a crazy week. There's been like so much happening. The league reveal and then Inspired Learning here. We've been prepping for this for ages, but like let's not talk about the prep for Inspired Learning. Let's talk about Heist League. I've been doing this. I've been doing this like so often because they both start with H. Heist League.
I think that is actually what Chris and Bex always said when they almost spoiled the announcement, because they sound so similar. I think when you talk about Harvest and you already know about Heist, maybe that was the thing that they said, because Heist would instantly spoil what the league was about, which was one of the clues we got.
That makes a ton of sense, actually. Yeah.
And talking about clues, so you did the whole like Badger PI figured out the league. How did that go for you? How well did Badger PI figure out the clues?
Well, let's say that Badger PI was very confident, but wasn't very correct. But I don't really care because I'm crazy hyped for Heist. For those of you who may have seen me on stream react to it, I was kind of like a little kid, just like, I get to play out those kind of heist fantasies that you'd have, watching heist movies and everything like that in my favorite video game. I couldn't really ask for much more. How about you?
I'm actually a huge fan of like heist type movies, like the Heist, Entrapment is like stuff that I grew up with like the Catherine Zeta-Jones and Sean Connery movie, or Ocean's 11, 12, 13, and so on. And also like general like the more lighthearted gangster drama movies, like I don't know, Jackie Brown or whatever, where it's like some turbulent stuff going on. You don't really know what will go wrong, but something will go wrong. And I think they really captured like the feel of that and the whole theme. With like what I've seen with Heist. They're like get in, get out, have a plan. It fails, you have to make a get out quickly, that type of deal. So that's why I'm like all ready for the theme. Like no matter what like the gameplay will be, already for the theme, I'm like super hyped.
Totally, I'm like the whole theme around that as well. You said something about feeling that something is going to go wrong. We've seen some kind of glimpses of, what can go wrong is, you can get discovered, you can, the alert level can go up and then you have to escape. But I don't think we really know that's pretty much just the surface level of what could actually go wrong. I think there's going to be like a ton of crazy things that could go wrong. And we did see, I don't know if you saw it. Did you see the backside of this big kind of giant mechanical dog in the trailer? Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that's one of the things that could go wrong, and bring it on.
Yep. Yeah, I think they really nailed like the whole theme, the look and feel of the whole league.
Yeah.
For the gameplay, I think I'm actually like curious, but I don't think we know all that much. It seems to be mostly a like normal PoE gameplay, as in like there's like this alert meter that fills up when you open chests. But from what Chris said on the interview, it seems to be mostly, from what I got from it, that you basically are limited in how many chests you can open, how much loot you can get by this meter, and it's not so much about like actual stealth and sneakily avoiding stuff. That's like the whole actual like gangster and thievery part is mostly what the companions do, right? Is that also how you got it, or?
I kind of got that, like, mostly like we're not gonna be like unlocking doors, or we're not gonna be breaking through grates or anything like that. That's what we hire people in our crew for, and then we're just there to just demolish any of the enemies if if they find out what we're doing. And, grab the loot as well. Come on, we're there for the loot. We're
Yeah,
there for the loot.
We're basically there for the loot and the dirty work. So kind of like what PoE has always been, like kill stuff, get loot, and there's like some fancy theme around. Basically like theme maps that are all like heist themed.
Yeah.
That's what I got from it.
Yeah.
What do you think about like them being basically kind of like maps that are available early in the leveling process?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot and trying to figure out whether I do want to do them early, or whether, like, it's really hard to know on any particular league start whether the league is going to be rewarding right from the get-go. It turns out that most of the time they are, but you still have that feeling of like, what if it's not, and I waste so much time during my leveling process, because I do like to, me personally, I like to go a bit fast and get to maps and everything like that, but I think just for the sake of discovering this amazing world of the heist, I'm going to be doing it through the leveling process. And from what Beck says, it is kind of mapping during leveling, which is pretty interesting. I'm very hyped for it. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, because you find them like items, like maps, basically. And you can craft them, even you can roll them and all that kind of stuff. But it is kind of like maps with, instead of like putting on sextants, whatever, you kind of like put in the gear for your henchmen, and you put in like, you have like the trinket slot now as well. So you put in, basically juice the maps, the heists in a different way.
Yeah.
Without an atlas, but you still juice them. That's kind of like what I got from the whole system. So it is definitely basically maps, which I think has always been the strongest system in PoE and the strongest part of PoE. So it does make sense to have it available a bit earlier, like a similar system available earlier, which I think makes a lot of sense. So I think this is like something that has been kind of like a long time coming, and it's a very smart and, how do you say, like it was a foreseeable move to eventually happen.
Yeah, I can foresee this, whether heist or the mechanic of heist is going to be something we see in PoE 2. I think this is Grinding Games exploring having the mapping experience not just an end game thing, having the mapping experience maybe even a little bit more core to the gameplay, or integrating the mapping experience with the story more in some way, which I think is a really, really good way to go. But yeah. Which
is also why I think I will definitely, like on the first character, usually I always engage fully with the league mechanic, and then later on further characters, I'll usually like put on Twinkie and speed through. That's what I'm doing this time as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. I'm very much going to. Last league I started in hardcore solo self-found, and then I just couldn't really engage with Harvest that much because I'm not great at staying alive, So back in softcore this time, and we're really gonna enjoy role playing a mobster or something like that. Getting in there, playing. I really want to play some sort of build that just really fits with the heist theme. I reckon. Some sort of shadow or ranger or something like that.
Yeah, it's like Trickster assassin time, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
That definitely sounds cool. Yeah, I thought about that as well, just like going full on theme with like Venom Guy or something like this, just like a star throwing assassin type build, something like this. But yeah, we'll see. Like we'll have to wait for the like buffs and nerfs to really see, and also like more of the cool loot to be spoiled as well from. That we've seen so far in Harvest, because I think there might be some really game changing and build changing and meta changing stuff there, on top of like any buffs and nerfs that they might actually put out. So
yeah. What are you kind of thinking the whole gameplay loop will feel like in terms of like actually doing your heist? Because there's like normal heists, and then there's grand heists that you plan for through your normal heists and everything like that. It's kind of been, also said that it's really going to be beneficial to kind of sneak around, but like it's not necessary. There's kind of been like jumping back and forth from like Bex and Chris about that, which is a little bit interesting. What do you think about all of that?
I think a lot of people will be pretty annoyed by that if it actually turns out that sneaking is kind of like required, or at least like very beneficial, more so than killing mobs. From what we've seen, killing mobs increases the alert meter by a little bit, but not by too much. So it's basically, if you don't kill any mobs and you sneak, you can maybe open like one extra chest or whatever. Like what I gather. So I think most of the time it will be more like, if you want to do the efficient thing and not like roleplay to the max, I think it's mostly going to be you just like kill the stuff that's in your way, try to grab the chest you see along the way, and then like grab the trinket or whatever you were there for. Alarm goes off, rush out. That's kind of like the cool engaging action-packed moment. And then for the grand heists, do we ever really have that much info on that?
Not really.
It's a bit,
no.
It is a bit more preparation. It's like several crew members and like more targets or something. It's like basically like a grand heist. I mean, it is a grand heist, right?
Grand heist, yeah.
It's like
a big
heist, but bigger.
I can probably imagine it's going to be something like, you know, it's inevitable. We're going to talk about, how similar this might be to Betrayal or anything like that. But I can imagine it could be something like the Katarina fight. You prep for ages with all of your crew members and everything like that, doing lots of different heists, and then gather heaps of clues and everything like that for the grand heist. I can imagine that's kind of the gameplay loop. You do the grand heist, and then you're kind of back to square one. Or not to square one, you've still got some stuff, but like...
I don't think they will like repeat that mistake. Basically,
yeah, you reckon? You reckon?
Like,
I hope not. I hope not. Yeah,
I think the grand heist and from what I've heard, the grand heists are tradable, and you can like change them as long as you have they have the intel and the coins to pay for it. So from what I've gathered is that you basically could chain buy grand heists and just like play grand heists if they are self-sustaining currency wise, which they might be because they're endgame content.
Yeah.
So I think it's maybe more like blighted maps where you can just kind of like run the encounters as you see fit, and if they self-sustain, it's basically just the time you invested, because blighted maps do take quite some time to do. They are elaborate, require some preparation. You kind of want to anoint the map, you want to roll it properly, because especially like the higher tier ones.
Oh yeah.
And then it takes a lot of time to get all the loot and get the map to actually finish. I think maybe it's more like this, where you like gather a few up and then you're like, oh, today is blighted map day, let's go. And then today is grand heist or normal heist day or whatever.
I can imagine that prepping for a grand heist day where all you do is run grand heist. That sounds like something that I'll probably do. Yeah, I did forget that small little detail of it. Of course, they're tradable, which I think is a really, really good move. Having them locked, if they were locked to accounts in some way that like watercrafting stations are kind of as well, the community would find some way to get around that and sell them still, but it's just another step. People want to be able to trade and do the content that they want to do. If you want to run your small heists, you be that kind of small-time mobster who just runs the small heists and then sells it off to the big guys and everything like that, and they can run all the big ones, or if you want to be, that big kingpin, or if you just want to sell everything that you find doing your general content, you can do that as well. And honestly, I think that's going to be really profitable. I don't think it's going to be fun, because I think heists are going to be super fun, but I think it'll be really profitable. Just selling everything. Yeah,
might be. I think like this like very liberal approach of like you can do the content you want, or you can completely avoid it if you don't like it, does kind of make sense. But I always also like the opposite side of where you are kind of like forced to either run it or leave it, because otherwise you're always like, okay, I have an Uber Elder set, but is it actually worth running? If I don't find anything, it's like 1x or 2x or whatever. Is it actually worth selling or running? Or like a Cortex, you find a Cortex map, but then if a Zana gives you a Cortex map, you're like, I'm gonna run the Cortex map, because I'm not gonna bother with like selling it through chat and like get maybe scammed or whatever. You're just like, hey, maybe I get it Bottled Faith, and if you get one, it's hype. The boss fight is fun. Like I find the Cortex boss fights are one of the cooler ones. But whenever I find an actual Cortex map, I'm always like kind of, should I sell it? It's actually worth quite a bit. And if I find like something that's worth absolutely nothing, I'm gonna be like, oh, damn, I should have sold it. So you miss a lot of content by selling content that you might enjoy.
Yeah, that's a super, super good point, actually. Like having optional content, which is what it's seeming like Heist is. You could, just play the league and still do fairly well, financially, whether you care about that in a trade league or whether you're playing solo self-found. You can still play the whole game without doing it. You don't have to engage with it. But it does mean that if you don't engage with it, you don't understand the mechanic, and then you get further on in the league, and then you don't want to engage with it more, and it kind of compounds on itself and everything like that. So that there's pluses and minuses, But I would say to everyone, probably give this one a go. I think it's going to be pretty cool. But that's just me being hype, you know.
I think honestly, it's like one of the more cool, interesting league mechanics we had so far. That still is not too far off. It's not like something where the core gameplay isn't really PoE like anymore, and it's not something where you go for you're like, oh wait, this is tower defense now, what the hell is this? Something like this, where you gotta go like super far astray, but it is definitely a very different theme that I think fits really well into the world of PoE. It's kind of like criminals and underground organizations and stuff. We already have the Syndicate, so I think the theme fits really well. I think it does make sense, and it's still, as I said, kill mobs, get loot. It's still the basic core ARPG principles, I think, at least from what I've gathered.
Oh yeah, same. I think it's still going to be that core gameplay loop of killing enemies and getting loot. Like, I don't think they're gonna make the mistake of having stealth be that much better than just going in guns blazing. Hey, I'm here. I'm robbing you. I'm gonna take all your shit. We're good. Let's get out. You know.
Exactly. I think they learned from how divisive and how small the community around Labyrinth is, which is kind of like the other sneak in, sneak through stuff. I mean, if you're like dodging traps or dodging like guards, it's still similar gameplay. And there are a few people who really like it, but they're like not the majority by any means.
Yeah.
But,
Totally. Yeah.
We've said the word a lot. Do you want to talk about the loot?
Oh yeah. Let's talk about the loot.
I think it's basically it's basicly loot league.
It is. It is loot league. It's loot league. It's looting loot league. Yeah. Well,
what's your favorite spoiled piece of loot? Like which of the whole spoiled parts? Like if you had to pick one, it's like I want to.
If I had to pick one, yeah, I was just about to ask you the same question, but you beat me to it. So
I'll put you on the spot. Yeah, you don't put me on the spot. This is how it works here. I know how podcasts work.
Look, honestly, like I'm weirdly hyped for the trinket slot just because, trinkets in general, because it's a new slot. Like I know it's like mostly based just around the league mechanic. You know, it's something like putting anointments on your ring, or something like that, for blight. It's specific, mostly specific to the league mechanic, but you can also get mods like you get more heist drops in maps and everything like that as well. So it can still function outside of that. You know, if you just get some like a crazy trinket that just lets you drop like heaps of heist, whatever they're called. I can't remember what they're called. The rogue markers, I think. You know,
the markers and the plans, right?
Yeah. If you just get that on your trinkets and just like farm maps like crazy, speed farm, drop like tons of them, and you know you can sell them. You can get like double divination, double currency drops in your heists. You know, I think that's really cool. I think they're going to be really sought after as well because they are corrupted when they drop.
Yes.
They cannot be crafted on. So sorry, everyone. But also, you know, you find that perfect trinket, and that's really cool. I really, really like that. That being said, like alternate quality gems is it's for me as primarily a weird build maker. That's I'm almost too scared to talk about that because like I don't know what's coming, and I'm very excited and very nervous as a content creator to try and make sense of everything that's coming there.
I'm actually kind of surprised that the trinket slot is like the one you picked. I think it's like kind of like the most weird one of all of them. Like you introduce a new equipment slot and then it's like league specific. We don't know, like they could reuse it for like future leagues. So you have always like one league specific item in there for the current or whatever league you want to buff or you want to run, because people have been asking for something to focus a bit more on the league that they prefer, like have like a favorite master or whatever. That would be kind of like a thing that could work. So, for example, have like a 30% more chance to encounter alvas, 30% chance more to drop more what are they called, the blueprints for the heist or whatever. So I think it is an interesting slot that definitely could see use in the future as well. I mean, if the slot is already there on the character, they might as well keep it, right? It's kind of like breach rings done right, because breach rings were basically that, but they used up your ring implicit,
Had
and
to get rid
everyone
of
was
your
like,
ring.
nah. Unless you're like running breach rotors or like breach stones, lots of breach stones, you basically don't use them. They were like cool, but not. They were too specific and using up something that could be used for something else, which this can't. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the gems, I'm just scared. It's just too much.
It is too much.
Normally, I take like until like 10 minutes before league start to decide on my build. This time it's probably going to be like 10 years after league start when I'm finally, I should have played this in Heist League. It's just too much. I'm like really scared. Also, what I'm pretty scared of is that getting 2120 gems with the right corruption that you want on the gem, or like a Val gem, plus the right quality on it for the like meta stuff, the stuff that a lot of people want. Go break more than just one bank. You have to heist like a lot of chests for that.
Oh yeah. That just popped into my mind just then. Do you think there's a possibility of alternate quality awakened gems dropping from grand heists?
Thought of that. I haven't even thought of now. I
thought about that. Right? I don't want that either, but I'm like, oh no.
I'd be surprised if awakened gems could drop from heists.
Yeah, I would be surprised
specific.
As well. Yeah.
So I don't think they will put that out there, but you never know.
You never know.
And that just made me think about maybe alternate quality empowers or enlightens, because they have the quality that just makes the gem level faster.
Yeah.
But if they could actually get a quality that makes the gem more powerful, but of course then takes forever to level, it would be kind of cool drawback to have as well. And then try to get to level 4 on that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's too much for me right now.
It is so much. What's not as much though is well, it's still a lot because we're getting some new stuff, but like new bases, which is kind of crazy.
That's actually something I'm the most excited for.
Yeah,
new bases.
That's your thing. Yeah.
That means new builds and lots of like new possibilities for lots of characters. I think they showed like a added fire damage bow.
Yeah,
and I was like, burning arrow.
Oh maybe. Yeah.
Or explosive arrow. No wait, they got too much added damage. That's
burning
not worth
arrow
it.
with the firewall and oh
that firewall.
Yeah. Yoji's found his build. Yeah.
I have found about 20 builds in my mind already, and that's kind of like the problem. I have no trouble finding builds. I have to sort them out at some point.
Oh yeah,
that's the issue.
Yep.
But
definitely.
No. The base is really cool. I'm really curious to what we'll probably get like some teasers for the bases and also for the replica uniques as well. And for gems, like as the league gets closer, and probably with every single teaser, I'm going to redecide my league starter.
100%. Yeah. But the real question is here, and everyone's going to be asking it over the next 2 weeks. Are you going to play a no intelligence build?
I'm already playing that IRL, so I'm kind of good for PoE. I don't want to like play myself in game. I think that's just too much. So but what I thought about is there's the keystone that gives you. I think I mentioned that before the podcast. The keystone then makes it so that you don't have any attribute requirements anymore, but you also don't get any bonuses from them. And using that with this axe, if you want to use it, I mean, if you consider it good enough to use, that would kind of make it so that you can still use some intelligence gems. Because I think like most of the gems on most even melee builds need some int gems that are really good. I think Pride Aura does have int requirement even.
Yeah.
I think all heralds. If I'm correct,
yes, I'm pretty sure all heralds, most heralds, I think, most
heralds definitely. I think it's always like that one thing that I'm lacking on my melee builds, like Herald of Purity, needs int, Herald of Ash, needs int. So it's always that. It's really annoying. So it's really difficult to make a character concept that doesn't need or like really want at least 1 or 2 really good int gems. So I think that might be a combo that could work for that axe.
Yeah, totally. For those of you who are listening or watching and you don't know exactly what we're talking about, I was referencing a new axe that got leaked. I can't remember the exact name, but I think the base is a butcher axe. The Acton, yeah. And the base is a butcher axe, which is also a new base, which is kind of cool. It has, a fair amount of fizz. I think it's 28% critical strike chance or something like that. Always. And then there's one more line there that just says, you have no intelligence. So basically the axe is just always insulting you, which is, it's pretty demeaning, but it could be a fun axe to play with.
Maybe it could be one of those items that have like a voiceover and like just like insults you. You're
Yeah.
so dumb. just hit it. Don't think, hit it.
Why did you do that? You're so dumb. I'm
Whenever
sorry,
you die,
acting.
it's like face palm sound.
Yeah.
However, an axe face palming might sound, but yes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talking about uniques, replica uniques.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've looked at like all the ones that we had, and there's already some pretty cool and exciting ones there. Like anything that stood out to you?
I just laughed when I saw the Abyssus one, because we've always known Abyssus as this massive physical helmet, right? And to change that core concept of Abyssus to have all elements, it just tickled me. You know, I just saw that and I laughed, and that's what I think we can expect from most of the replica uniques, is actually changing a good laugh and changing these core uniques that we've known for so long, doing this specific thing, picking it up and being like, wait a second, that does something like either completely different or like something, well, like a lot of the time it's probably not going to be completely different. It's still, you know, the core concept of that, you know, you still get flat physical damage, flat damage with the Abyssus, but it's all elemental. But like,
increased elemental damage instead of increased physical.
Exactly.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I actually think that Abyssus is extremely strong. Like
it looks really strong.
Because you can divine flesh it if divine flesh does not get nerfed, and then your elemental damage is covered, and it is a lot of damage for an elemental build. Like
very
lot of damage.
Yeah.
So
they were all around the 150 mark, weren't they? I think lightning was the high was like 200 or something, or
that thing is basically like a great weapon.
Yeah.
It has like 100 whatever crit multi.
Yeah, it's like a 3T1 bow or something like that right there with the early rolls. It's kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yep. And if you slap that on like, let's say, a berserker with insane attack speed and on a crit build with like maxed rage and maxed what's it called, the blitz charges.
Yeah.
You will just delete all the things.
It's making me, these replica uniques are making me like think constantly about like uniques that I really like and like what's the replica to be like. I saw someone comment on what is like a Calm's Heart replica. You know, I don't think they're gonna have for every unique, but what would a Calm's Heart replica unique have? Maybe it's just like not fire damage, maybe it does cold damage increased, or lightning damage, or maybe it's
500 flat ES.
Yeah, 500 flat ES, which is pretty bad if you've got a chest piece with no links and 500 flat ES, or maybe 1500 flat ES. That might be too strong. I don't know, but like, yeah, it's really making me think about lots of interesting things. Have you got anything that you would love to see a replica version of? Put you on the spot there as well. Yeah,
I don't really know. There are like lots of cool uniques that I really like. I wanted to see something with Stormfire. I love Stormfire, Stormfire builds, and maybe if they did something with that could be really cool. Let's see, for example, like your cold damage can ignite would be kind of cool. Something that I could see, or maybe your chaos damage can ignite would also be kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd love to see something with Stormfire, because it's already a cool unique. But there's like so much, but they basically could change like anything that's like completely useless right now into to something amazing easily. Like, the potential is endless, and it's just basically lots and lots of completely new uniques. I mean, they're inspired by the old ones, but they work so differently. They're basically enabling new builds, and so it's just like an easy, cheap, and flavorful way for them to make new uniques. So I think that's like so genius. It's actually a genius move.
I heard Chris comment on that in the ZiggyD and Chris podcast, and he was kind of very happy with himself, being like, we can pump out so many uniques in the replica system, or we can make like 3 uniques the other way. You know, like it's a lot more content.
I mean, they don't have to make art as well, right?
Yeah. Just put a cool effect on it, and then just copy paste that. Just get your keyboard out and just
the flavor text. Though, they put all the effort.
Yeah.
They put all the effort in the flavor text of those things. They're like, that's
Mm-hmm.
where they put the time they saved for like making new unique art. That's like they gave that to the writers and were like, yo, get some good flavor text, so we don't feel too cheap about it. Basically,
yeah. I guess Well, we've got one more thing to talk about there in terms of the loot, but right after that, we do need to talk about those flavor texts and also how they how they're going to interact with the big picture of Heist. But anyway, the last thing that we'll talk about with the loot is weapon and armor enchantments. Now I think we've only seen two, like one weapon and one armor at the moment. Have we seen any more? I've only seen two, I think, but
I've only also seen the two. The one was life modifiers have increased effect, I think like 6 or 7%, and the chest piece was a chest piece, and it's always fully linked. So if you put it to like 4 sockets, it's 4 linked. If you put it to 5 sockets, it's 5 linked, and then you put it to 6 socket, it's 6 linked.
Yeah.
And the other one was a mace, I think, a physical mace that had increased attribute requirement by 200%, and I think the good part was that it had a downside as well, which I think is really cool. And the upside was that physical modifiers have like, I think 15 or so increased effect. So it basically as a multiplier to all the fizz rolls on the item. So instead of, if you roll like flat 100% or like 100% increased fizz damage on there, it's instead 115 or 120, whatever.
Yeah, I think that's going to be crazy strong. But this is literally like we've seen one, well, I guess 2 enchants for a weapon and 2 enchants for a chest piece. It's hard to know whether those come together or whether they're going to be randomized or anything like that. Like whether the fully linked comes with the life or anything like that. It's probably not going to be like that. There'll probably be, lots and lots of variations. But we've seen nothing there, and
I hope that there's more creative stuff than the stuff we teased so far.
Yes,
because this currently is just like power.
Yes,
Thank you.
It's power creep. I was just about to say it's just power creep right there with the enchants. That's all it is, and I think it might, in my eyes, it was. It feels like a little bit of a patch afterthought of being like, well, how are we going to give power back to people after they can't craft mirror tier gear with Harvest? How can we give some more power back? It's going to be really powerful. But I did also hear that it's in the works, and we don't know exactly if it's going to happen yet. It's not confirmed, but there may be some form of currency that can let you transfer enchantments from weapons and armor to other weapons and armor. But Chris did say specifically only weapons and armor, so no helm enchants. If that does happen. What do you think about that? Finding a chest piece that like it's got a bad base or something like that. But look, I've also got this orb of enchantment that I can just transfer things over. What do you think of that?
I'm kind of like torn on that one. I think the moment of yes, I found like an astral plate, a Val Regalia with the right with a good enchantment on it. That's amazing. And if they actually bring out that currency, either it's so rare that it's only worth using on like the perfect double enchanted base or whatever, because that's what it's going to be used at. So it's either really hard to even justify using for the normal like average player, let's say, or it's going to be common enough for everyone to use it, and then basically the base it drop doesn't matter anymore. That's kind of like the problem I see, and I think that's probably why GGG internally, they are still not sure whether they want to do it. Because on the other hand, of course, it's annoying if you're like, I'm only finding simple ropes with the cool stuff. Why? it's tricky.
Yeah. I can imagine. Like it's a hard decision either way. Like you could if you don't have those orbs, you could go through an entire league without seeing a good base plus good enchant, which could feel really bad. But on the other hand, if you do have the orbs, it's kind of just like if you don't have the currency to afford the orb or the currency to get that that enchant orb or whatever we're calling it, then you're just going to be selling all of your bases with enchants on them. You're not really going to be using them because they're not useful, So it's pretty difficult. Yeah.
It's tricky. It's kind of like the Awakener Orb situation, because Awakener Orb allows you to not only make like a 2 implicit one, or like the it's more like the Conqueror Exalted Orbs, because for example in SSF you have a really hard time finding the base you want with the influence you want. For example, let's say you're playing a Trickster, you want that Sadist Garb, but you're only finding like everything else but Sadist Garbs with the influence you want, let's say Hunter. But once you get the Exalted Orb, you basically just have to find the normal base, and I think that's kind of like the band-aid fix they're trying to make here, and it's probably not that important for trade aside from making the super maxed out gear. And for most builds can actually, like ES builds not so easily, but most like armor and evasion builds can actually settle for tier 2 bases, which is usually like 10 times, 20 times cheaper than like the astral plate is always so much more expensive with the perfect roll, perfect base, perfect item level than just like one base below is already cheap. So you can easily settle for like a subpar or like just below optimal pretty easily. So I don't think it's that much of an issue either way. Personally.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Definitely. I think once again this is going to be a really cool league to play solo self-found in as well. I think I'm going to be playing in trade league, but I think there's going to be heaps of fun developing your whole heist operation entirely by yourself with your NPCs and everything like that. I think solo self-found is going to be super fun, but they're also really hyping up. GGG is also really hyping up it being really good for party play. Which
so you're looking for normal trade play, or because they increased the limit on private leagues. So I'm currently like keeping my eyes and ears open about any cool private leagues, because at up to maybe 10k player private league, like a really big one, maybe like a collaborative one as well from like several content creators communities. Those can be really, really cool because the economy then is like large enough. So like lots of even like a bit niche items get generated and created, but it's not too big to be like bot infested, or like where trade moves so fast that everyone just already feels like they are like already hoarding exalted oaths while you're like still farming upper tabula.
That's super true. Now you're making me think, ooh, maybe I should keep my ears open. Ears open? Is that a thing people say? Well, if not, I say that. Cool, I say that. That's my thing.
Making people think is kind of like the point. So if I'm already making you think, maybe like some other people are more interested in private leagues now as well. I think it could be a cool thing. So I'm keeping my eyes open.
Yeah, definitely. I did want to jump back to the lore itself. Well, we don't really know much of the lore of Heist, but
on purpose.
On purpose, which is really, really, really interesting to me. I haven't usually been a crazy person like delving in deep with the lore of Path of Exile, but having the lore hidden away from me at the moment is now also making me want to know about the lore. So I'm like, wait a second, but you're not telling me things? Does that mean there's going to be like a really cool story that we go on? Like this is going to be like some sort of mini campaign or anything like that with twists and turns? I think Ziggy D also asked that question to Chris specifically. Is there going to be twists? And Chris was just like, you're gonna have to find out. I think that's a yes.
I think that's something definitely there. That's probably he even said that he doesn't want to say if there's a boss or not, which definitely means there's. I think it definitely means there's something more than just heists and grand heists. At least I really hope there's like that little bit extra. Maybe, I mean, we still don't know who we are raiding, like who we are stealing from. Is it like the same person every time? Is it like maybe one high, I don't know, aristocrat from Theopolis? Is it I don't know, a bank? Is it an organization? Like maybe we're stealing from the syndicate or whatever. We don't know. We literally don't know. What we've seen is that they look like a little bit like the Innocence themed guards. That was like a lot of guards looked very Innocence themed and like Theopolis themed. So it's probably happening somewhere around that part.
Yeah.
But we really don't know.
Yeah, we really don't know, and that's the super intriguing part. You got any wild theories? Well, I guess you kind of had a couple of theories there with, you know, Theopolis and Innocence themed or anything like that. Have you thought of any wild theories? I'm asking the question, but I haven't even thought of anything. So
maybe there's some other like higher up in like the church or like the politics or whatever, the aristocracy of Theopolis, kind of like Venarius. We had that with the Kavas storyline. Of course, like Zana's father, the Shaper, used to be like one of those people. Maybe that's something happening within that. Like what I actually find very curious is that we have Kirak, who is like part of basically the guard, the police, who we are teaming up with, and at the same time we are like part of this new like gang of thieves. So we're basically criminals
Yeah.
teaming up with the police
Yeah.
to like hunt people in like this weird dream world, but at the same
Mhm.
time we're also like robbing people blind every
Mhm.
day. We are doing pretty interesting stuff as exiles, like just like lore wise. It's pretty wild.
It is pretty
Hunting a
wild.
syndicate while being part of one as well. Time traveling, hunting beasts. We have like lots of hobbies these days. It's pretty crazy.
Lots
Delving
of
in the
hobbies.
mines.
Most
Yeah.
of the hobbies do seem to have seem to put us as exiles in the bad guy light, I guess I should say. So, like, well, what comes to mind for me is specifically like incursion. Where we're kind of just
Yeah.
jumping back through time to slaughter all of these civilizations to get loot, right?
Yep.
Are we in heist, robbing these crazy big kind of banks and vaults and everything like that of people of Theopolis or everything like that? Like it's everyone's stuff, but we're just like, hey, we're exiles and we want loot because we want to get
Yep.
stronger and fight more gods. So like, is that it? Are we just the bad guys again? Probably, maybe, I don't know.
We're definitely we're definitely criminals in this one, but we're also exiled
yeah.
criminals. Like every single one of the characters is already a bad guy coming into this. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
except for the Templar and the Scion,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the Ranger is also all right. So there are a few ones, but the Shadow definitely was an assassin. And,
Oh yeah. Shadow fits right in. Yeah.
and they definitely did some weird. So the Witch definitely as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think stealing is not the worst thing that we've done, like in the past. Like Alva especially, and it's like such a funny thing. Hey, look at this! I invented time travel. What could we do with this for mankind? Yes, go back in time, kill people, and get rich. That's the that's the best thing we could do. So yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty tame compared to what we've done in the past. So hopefully we can have some fun doing it.
Yep.
I'm really excited to get to know all of the crew members as well.
Yes. That was one of the fun parts of Betrayal as well.
Mm.
Like getting to know all the NPCs, all the flavor behind it.
I just hope they don't all say their voice lines at the same time when we enter enter into our heist. They're all just talking at the same time. Please, no, not Betrayal again, please. Let them have their own moments.
We have recorded 5 billion lines of voice acting, and we're gonna play them all at the same time. Yeah, no, I think they won't do that because I think the heists seem a lot more like paced, not just like all the betrayal exiles spawning at the same time. Random stuff happens, big boom explosion moment. Everyone is defeated, and then like you don't control the pace as much, I think, which I think could also be like one of the concerns I have with the league, that the pacing might be a bit slow for like the really speedy people. When you're like, there were like some scenes where you kind of have to wait for the stealth dude to come in, like kill the guard and open the door for you, and then you kind of have to wait here for this to get lockpicked, or this chest to get opened, or like this mechanism to get I don't know, like destroyed or whatever. So I think while these like cinematic moments are pretty cool, PoE kind of struggles from the thing that whatever it is and how cool it might look, you will see that thing hundreds of times. And at some point, you're just like, skip button.
Yep.
So that's like the one concern I have. That's like the single concern I have.
Yeah.
I don't know how about you. Do you have like any concerns with the league before we move on to the...
Yeah. Concerns. There were a couple that came up, and for me personally, they're not concerns on my behalf, but more so concerns on the bridging of the gap that I try to do a lot of bringing new people into the game and having them understand mechanics, and this really does look very complicated from an initial view of it. Like it looks more complicated than the garden. Again, we don't really know at this point. It might not be that complicated, but just having 13 NPCs, having each NPC have 4 gear slots, having them have levels that they can go up and increase certain parts of everything, trying to plan your heist perfectly, trying to get in and out, collecting all the things you want, rolling all of, there's so much it's a lot to condense down for people who this might be their first or second league or something like that. And because it's also optional in the way that you don't have to run them, every map or something like that, I can see a lot of people skipping it that just are like, I really don't want to do that. Like, I think once you get to know it and understand it, it's going to be super fun. And I don't think it's going to be that confusing, but it looks confusing, and that's something I'm concerned about. Yeah.
Kind of like, I think so as well. Like a lot of people, whenever I mention like Betrayal is one of my favorite leagues, and I love the mechanic and I love how it works, but it does take some time to get into. But I think the main mistake you can make is skip it because you don't understand it.
Yeah.
Because the best thing you can do to understand it, and which is something I'm currently struggling with telling one of our kids here, if you're not good at something, you have to do it so you get better. And I think that's with Betrayal as well. And I think Betrayal has kind of like suffers from, if you don't know what you're doing, it can be a bit unfun and a bit unrewarding at first. And I hope Heist does that thing better. So even if you're like just blindly running in, just like, let me see, like I'm clicking on stuff, I'm just trying it out, see what happens. That it still feels fun and good to do, even if you don't know what you're doing. I think that if they nail that, I think Heist is going to be a success either way. If they don't nail that part, it's going to be a bit tricky. Because I think also with the garden, a lot of people were like, at first, were like, I'm skipping this stuff until someone makes a spreadsheet. I'm not touching any cables, any whatever that thing is. Or maybe, I think the smartest thing you could do, even if you don't want to engage it, would be, I'm just putting in tier 1 seeds. Just like, I know how that works. That's easy. It's just like 2 click. I'm just doing that like until someone puts a spreadsheet. And which I think is fine if you don't have fun doing that. Like, don't force yourself into doing something that's not fun. But
yeah, of course,
give it a chance. I think give it a chance is like the thing. And I was actually a bit surprised. Did you like read some of the Reddit comments and stuff like that?
I have not been on Reddit for like 4 months, so
okay.
I try to not go there anymore.
I read a bit through like the comment threads while like I was at lunch break at work, because I wanted to engage somehow with more PoE content.
Yeah, totally.
While I was like eating my lunch, and the reception was surprisingly negative from what I've seen. There were like a lot of people hyped, of course, but there was also a lot of concerns, and just from like the very few things we know, there was like so much of the negative points focused on. I was like really surprised, and that reminded me why I usually don't go as much on Reddit.
Yeah,
so maybe you did the right thing.
Yeah, from my perspective, it's it might just be my community that I'm surrounded by and everything like that, and a few other people's community, but not being on Reddit, I've seen generally positive, 90% positive things about the league, and the concerns being that maybe it will be a little bit confusing, but their concerns and criticisms are pretty valid. But like, from what I've heard from everyone around me, people are really hyped. But I also have heard those little birdies saying like, Reddit's a little bit annoyed right now.
Yeah. I mean, I can always tell if I see a league trailer and I'm like, yep, that looks awesome. Reddit hates it. And whenever I see a league trailer, I'm like, I don't know. Then Reddit's like, this is the best thing ever. This is how it works, because I'm
so confusing.
I know that a lot of like the main like loud voices on Reddit are not the type of player that I am, but we have so many different demographics these days.
Totally.
I think it's basically impossible to please everyone
at
this point. Anyways,
that's something we got to remember. Like, there's never going to be a Path of Exile league where everyone enjoys it. Like, it's it's just can't happen. So we just try and enjoy it as much as we can. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We still have like one big major talking point left.
We do. We've completely left this. Yeah.
It's one of the cooler things. It's the new skills and reworks, and that's like one of my favorite things every league. Looking at what archetypes, what things they rework, which themes they explore with like new skills, new spells, new attacks, new support gems, new everything, on top of the already alternate quality gems. And these might also then already have alternate quality versions, which I thought about. So we get to see these new spells, which might already have like 3 versions of what they do as well. So yeah, this time I'm putting myself on the spot. Hey Yoji, what's your favorite of the gem? Because it would be mean if I always do that to you. I mean, it could be a thing which we just always do. Yoji puts Badger on the spot, the podcast.
Yeah.
But no, this time I'm going to put myself on the spot.
Good job.
And I'm actually kind of surprised by one of them, and that's the Void Sphere. Because I would have thought this is the thing that's been in every ARPG I've ever played except for Path of Exile. And I was very surprised to actually... I always thought if they would have made a Void Sphere by now with like 10 years of this game is out 10 years now, by the way, like since like closed beta inception of the game to like now, they would have made it by now. That's what I thought. I wonder what made them finally go like, yo, let's do the black hole thing now. Like after 10 years, why not? How did that happen? So I'm really surprised to see that thing happen. Because in any game that I've ever seen, it's been a bit of a tricky one.
Oh, yeah. We've seen black hole-like visuals in Path of Exile for ages from like Shaper and Celestial MTXs and everything like that, but not really any mechanic that is black hole-esque. So it is very funny that it's taken this long. But we can assume that probably on day 3 of the league, there's going to be a celestial Void Sphere skin coming out, I reckon.
Yep. That's a given. Maybe that's the community designed one will probably end up being that.
Yeah, just that.
But yeah. Now I'm kind of excited and worried about it because whenever you have like I suck everything into one spot type of deal, even with a cooldown, just as a utility spell, even if you don't use it as a main damage ability, in every game like last Epoch, it's a super strong ability. In what's called Diablo, it's been like a very strong ability. Like whenever you have like this crowd control sucky type black hole, it's always a bit tricky. So I'm curious how they balance it. I think it does have a cooldown from the footage I've seen.
It has a pretty substantial cooldown. I was actually like specifically I looked back through the trailer a few times and had a look at that. It's quite substantial, but it also looks like it has charges. I don't think it was linked to. I might be wrong, but I don't think it was linked to Second Wind.
Yeah,
but it had like 2 charges. And round about a 10-second cooldown per charge generation.
Okay, that is a long cooldown, so you can't spam it as a main damage ability.
Yeah, but you know that also, like, we don't know the tree that character was using. You know, if it had any cooldown whatsoever, so it could drastically be reduced with some cooldown recovery speed and true, yeah. But I think they're going to balance it pretty heavily in terms of it being a utility skill. Like, you can't use this as your main clear skill, otherwise you're just going to be waiting there. All right, is Void Sphere up now? Okay, now I can clear this pack. Like, I think that's what it's going to feel like if you try to use it just to clear packs with Void Sphere. I could be wrong, but yeah.
Yeah, and most of the major bosses can't really be knocked around, so it's not like a too useful boss ability either. So yeah, but I'm curious to see. Like, it's very surprising that it is in now, so I'm very curious. But yeah, now I'm putting you on the spot. What's your like pick that you were like wowed by, either by being weird or funny or cool or powerful?
I've been wanting to play an occultist for a very long time, and I haven't. So I got really hyped with the curse buffs that they're talking about, like self-cursing. It could be really fun. Actually doing like some sort of self-curse occultist with the impending doom, I think it's called, the support. And then just getting massive profane bloom explosions with the explosion from impending doom, you know, stacking explosions. So I guess that's kind of the lump of curse buffs. I think is going to be really interesting. It seems like they're kind of getting the Warcry treatment of affecting them in different ways and really making it more, a lot more beneficial to self-curse them. Self-cast, I mean, instead of 99% of builds either using a blasphemy or a curse on hit, especially from rings and everything like that. Like, this is hopefully going to bring it into the area where we can go, maybe I don't use a curse ring. Maybe I do have this just, you know, unlinked or linked to impending doom that I just cast myself, you know? But yeah, I think could be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it could be pretty cool as well. I think the comparison to Warcry is probably very fitting, because I imagine them changing some of the curse wheels and maybe adding some new ones as well, like
Mm-hmm.
that affect like how fast the doom progresses, like the doom effect of like if you cast a self curse even without the impending doom support, you stack up like the curses gain effectiveness as they are on the enemy, and they could have stuff like curses gaining the effect faster or the top end being higher. It's kind of like Warcry buff effect, Warcry cooldown reduction, whatever, stuff like that. So I can see there being I cast my curses myself and invest a bit into them, kind of like Warcries. I have like 2-3 Warcries, cast them myself for the increased effect, versus I have a curse on hit ring, which then would be I'm using Call to Arms and 1 Warcry. I think that's basically what they're aiming for here as well, because for the Warcries, I think that worked decently well.
Yeah. I think Warcries was done really well, honestly. Like, I think it needs some balancing. Enduring Cry. But I think it mostly worked pretty well. And so hopefully curses feel the same. It's going to be pretty cool. And I think it's also impending doom procs when the duration of the curse expires, I think.
Also,
so,
if you refresh it.
Yeah, you refresh it as well, but there could be a mechanic there of having really short duration curses. You just like chuck it on, and like
less
you stack
duration
less
curse.
duration and that sort of thing, which could be pretty interesting. Yeah.
Sounds kind of like Penance Brand from the playstyle, where you have like you put it on, it doesn't have an immediate effect, and it kind of like charges up and then goes boom in the end. That's kind of like how Penance Brand feels as well.
Yeah.
It could be a thing, because curses, you can actually get pretty good AoE on curses. You can get like they have really fast base cast speed.
Yeah.
It could be a cool playstyle. Yeah, I think if the power level is on par for like other skills, that could be a cool thing.
Yeah. And we haven't even talked about, well, like I'm actually super hyped about this as well, but there's steel skills. And a couple of the other spells as well and everything like that. But
right. Do you know, like, do you understand how the steel skills are supposed to be working? I don't understand. I'm like, if you can, please explain, because I'm like, okay, something about like shards and ammunition types, about how do I get these shards and what?
Yeah,
I didn't understand it.
I think I'm on the same page as you, Yoji. I haven't delved into it. I've never played a steel skill before this point, and now they're introducing shards and everything like that. But the only comparison that I could draw right now, I'm not sure if you've ever played League of Legends, but Aurelia from League of Legends is a character who kind of has these swords kind of hovering around her that just she can like shoot out and everything like that. It feels kind of interesting, but it also feels like melee, not melee. It's another melee, not melee skill.
So kind of like maybe like Venom Gaia, where you like charge up and you can release like the blades with whirling blades, kind of like a intertwined play style with like an ammunition system. Yeah, I mean it could be really interesting.
Yeah, it's So they're reworking the 2 steel skills I think there is at the moment. And then shattering and lancing. Yeah. And then adding splitting steel as well, which looks much more like a projectile one. I think that one is. And interacting really, really strongly with Impale as well. Because the steel skills were introduced at the same time as Impale. All about kind of piercing and throwing shards at everything and then exploding stuff as well. There seems to be a theme of quite a few different.
There's like kind of like a blade blasty type ability as well. Like what's it called? Call of the Blades or whatever. What's where you recall some blades from the environment.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
it looks probably going to be like Blast, a two button playstyle type thing, which I think the Blade Blast stuff like worked really well. It's really powerful as well. Like last league, a lot of people played it, and it's kind of like cool to see more of these like combo playstyles, like the Ice Nova, Frostbolts, the ED Contagions, and now the Blade Blast. Now maybe we will see some steel as well, and of course there's another one, the Firewall.
Yeah,
which also promotes a 2-button playstyle, which I found kind of quite interesting.
Exactly. I'm pretty interested in Firewall as well. I'm very interested in whether Firewall specifically will grant flat fire damage or whether it will grant increased damage or more damage to the projectile. That's going to really determine, what kind of happens there. I don't think that's been specifically talked about. I may have missed it.
From what I've gotten from it, it is added fire damage, and it also allows the projectiles that fly through the wall to apply a part of the dot from the firewall itself. So you apply added fire damage, and you apply part of the damage over time from the wall itself as well.
Yeah.
which is like a really cool idea in my opinion.
I'm really thinking that Fireball Trickster League starter with Firewall is going to be extremely strong, but Trickster's probably going to get nerfed. But because of the, if it is flat fire damage that you also get from it, Fireball has one of the highest added damage effectiveness spell in the game. So
Yes,
kind of
that's true,
igniting
that's true.
through a fireball, a fireball through a firewall, it could be really, really, really interesting. And that's actually probably the build that's at the forefront of my league start at the moment. But
At the moment.
At the
Subject
moment.
to change about 500 times per second.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Fireball's definitely on my list somewhere as well, but it's a long list, so yeah.
Yes.
And then they said something about a Glacial Cascade and a Discharge rework, which we I think know nothing about.
Yes. We know nothing about it. There's a very funny story behind Discharge. We were going to have a small little section on the podcast. Every week we would talk about whether Discharge would be buffed or not. And then first episode, the day before the first episode, it looks like Discharge is getting buffed, so we kind of scrapped that.
Yep. That was the shortest meme. It got killed before it was even alive. But yeah, Discharge. I think Discharge has a lot of people excited. That used to have a huge fan base. The Castle on Crit Discharge was like one of the most iconic builds ever in PoE.
Yes.
And it kind of got it mildly destroyed.
Yeah. I think that Discharge, this is just entirely my speculation and what I want as well, because I'm a huge Discharge fan, but I haven't played it for such a long time because it never felt good to play. I always got sad playing it because I just wanted to, remember it back in the day, from, even back in the day when there were builds around kind of like self-cast, ignite, Discharge, which still can kind of be done. But I think it's going to move to more of a self-cast variation. I think they're going to be I feel bad saying this, and people might hate me saying this, but I think they're going to be taking it out of the realm of cast on crit, and I think they're going to be keeping it in the realm of kind of building up power. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, Yoji. I think it's going to be really strong self-cast, but I honestly, that's just entirely speculation and what I want.
Cast while channeling, maybe?
Cast while channeling? Ooh, maybe. Yeah.
Like, no, I mean, maybe, I really wonder what they will do, if they will, completely rework it. Yeah. But yeah, I can see that they kind of like making it a high investment, high payoff type of skill that is always tried to be. But whenever it was used, someone just like circumvented the charge build-up. That's how it used to work. I wonder if they even keep the charge theme as strong as it is. We don't know. So all speculation at this point. Glacial Cascade, I have no idea. I thought Glacial Cascade was a fine skill, honestly.
Yeah, same. I'm a little bit confused about Glacial Cascade. I think it has a decent what do you call it? Well, anyway, it has its identity. It has a decent identity within Path of Exile. I think it fits. So with a rework there, I don't know what they're going to be doing, but I hope it keeps that same kind of identity of just massive ice shards exploding from the ground, which I'm sure it will. But yeah, I'm hyped for new spells. Super hyped. It just means new builds.
More stuff to play with. So much new stuff to play with. Not only skills, uniques, replicas, gem, is like all the stuff. Definitely going to be a very different meta. Very
different. I am. I'm still very hyped, as I'm saying, with all of these skills, but always, every time I think back to the alternate quality gems, there's just this little voice in the back of my head. It's just like, just give up making builds. You're gonna be in so much pain. Well, that's not gonna happen, don't worry. But it's like, how do I tackle this? All right, let's just jump in. Let's pick a skill. Let's go and let's have fun. That's how I'm gonna enjoy this league.
Also, how available will they be?
Yeah,
how available they could be. Can I plan them in?
Yeah.
Can I plan them in for a league starter? Is it something like a end game min maxing thing?
Yeah. I would assume it's going to be end game min maxing, I reckon, but we'll see. Yeah. Who knows?
That kind of makes me play an attack build, because I don't want to corrupt for 21 if they are so rare.
Yeah.
But spell builds, or even caustic arrows, they need the 21 at some point.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
We'll see how that goes.
We will see how that goes. I think we've kind of covered almost everything that we wanted to cover in the time that we wanted to cover it as well.
We are so good at this.
Yeah, I don't know how we did that. We were so nervous that we were just going to talk for way too long, and we could talk for way too long. But I think we got through everything. Is there anything else that you want to like bring up that we haven't talked about, or anything you want to touch on, or?
No, not right now. I think we covered everything major. There's lots of like finicky little parts that we might touch on maybe in the next episode, and yeah. But for now, I think we covered all that we wanted to cover, which is good.
Yeah, definitely. I will say that in future episodes we are going to be hopefully opening things up to kind of the community's questions and everything like that. So we'll be planning episodes in advance each week. And this will be a weekly thing as well, this podcast, at the same time every week, unless we do need to adjust it for maybe getting a different guest on or something like that, because there will be other guests. But there was too much to cover this time around, but other times we will be opening it up for kind of community questions or anything like that you guys want to ask about certain topics that we will have. So thank you so much for listening, everyone. And if you're watching this live as well, thank you so much for watching. This has been so much fun. And as always, stay sane.
Stay sane.
Exiles.
Nailed it.